There's been a standoff over the number of wild horses in America's West for almost half a century. Today, we've reached the tipping point, and even the White House is weighing in. The future of the country's wild horses depends upon what's decided now. A federal law protects tens of thousands of them roaming millions of acres of public land, but there are more horses out here than there have been in decades, and no one knows what to do.
The animals get along, it's the people that don't get along.
So horse advocates want to protect them. Ranchers who often need to use the land too want to see fewer of them. And the White House wants to make selling them for slaughter legal again.
We're a little bit out of balance.
Like a lot happening in America today, striking that balance can feel elusive. But how does all of this play out for the folks who are actually waiting for a solution? Well, let's start here. Just north of Denver, Colorado, we'll go east and then north, past a tiny community called Maybell, to one place where the wild horses are. And Stella Trueblood and Connie Wagner, two horse advocates who believe they have a solution to this overpopulation, are going to take us.
Horses to the right. So what we're trying to do is treat as many mares and fillies as possible with the drug called PZP, which is porcine zona pelluda, I think is the correct name for it. But basically it's fertility treatment that blocks the mares from getting pregnant. It is made out of pig ovaries. They use slaughterhouse pigs.
Is that one right up there?
It would be ideal if the horses didn't have to compete with sheep for grazing.
The Sandwash Basin just outside of Maybell is one of 177 areas across the West where horses are federally protected to live. The BLM, or Bureau of Land Management, is the government agency in charge of both protecting these horses and managing this land. And it says the land can handle no more than 362 horses. But over 600 are out here. And that's where Stella comes in.
They're looking at us, of course. So I want to get to within about 40 yards, if they will let me. So I'll be shooting, hopefully, the brown mare in her left rump. It was kind of a non-event. So this is what it looks like when it's ejected.
Does it hurt them?
It does. I'm sure it does.
I guess it's that or
Removal from the range. What's a little jab in the butt, is what I say.
Left hip, it was Mare Bonnie.
An initial primary dose.
Note, a PZP shot lasts for just a year, and Stella and Connie don't get paid to do this annually.
It's a huge workload, so we really rely on that volunteer workload.
This is David Boyd from the BLM, the government agency.
There's not really an easy solution. I mean, if there was, we would be doing it. There's not an effective predator in North America of wild horses. It's basic biology that populations grow exponentially until something checks that growth. I mean, we really are at a critical point.
Wait, why exactly are we at this critical point? Well, like a lot of things, this issue comes down to money. Imagine you're a wild horse, federally protected on your own designated land. The government says there are way too many of you, so periodically through controversial means, it comes along and funnels groups of you into holding facilities. But these holding facilities are packed. And last year, 63% of the BLM's budget went just to feeding and keeping these captured horses in holding. Meanwhile, out on the range, horse populations about double every 4 years. And so here we are. The government says the land can sustain about 27,000 horses, but today, there's 73,000 out here. Now, birth control is one possible solution, but that barely gets any money. Another solution comes from the White House. The proposal for next year's budget would authorize that the, quote, excess horses be sold for slaughter to help cut costs. That's largely been prohibited for almost 50 years. But this possible solution is something the ranchers have been wanting for a long time.
I don't think they need to be all gone, but they do need to be culled out, just like we do our cattle. Or
Here's Don Nottingham, a fourth-generation rancher.
organic eggs. That's the way we eat here. All right. Another day at work. I think we're considered the stewards of the land, and that's what we want to be. We preserve every drop of water we can. We save every spear of grass we can and try to save it from getting overgrazed.
My uncle, my neighbor that has permits out there, they can't even go out there with their livestock because there's too many horses out there.
This is my son. I've had him about 32 years here pretty quick. So, you know, you sell cattle to the cattle market for beef.
The horse market does need to come back.
And that would eliminate a lot of this overpopulation of horses.
But you know, while the wild horses are endangered, the people who are fighting against them are endangered too, and horses are just part of that picture.
Emmett's been within ranch work all his life, and he has to go do a side job to keep his family going, and then come and help me keep my part going too. It's about the way it goes.
I like driving truck, I like doing other jobs, but the truth is, I'd rather be back to ranch. That's my cup of tea, and the way it's looking, it's getting harder and harder for younger ranchers and farmers to do that.
You know, and like the grandson, we hope we'll keep them involved.
When I grow up, I want to be a musicer, a doctor, and a firefighter.
Oh my gosh.
What about a rancher?
I don't know.
You know, it's a way of life, and we seem to keep taking along. And
The way things are set up right now, it's like we're pitted against each other.
Lynn McCormick, a horse advocate, has her own idea for a solution, diverting more money to manage the horses on the range instead of taking them off. And talk about small-town living. She lives on the old property of Don, that rancher, just a few miles from the basin.
Horse slaughter is, I guess, the easy way out. But I think horse slaughter sets a bad precedent for future management of the wild horses. I'll sort of point out, say, this is a domestic horse, this is a Mustang, how's that? They've brought cultures about. They escorted us into the industrial era. This is a domestic horse. Nature put them here, not for just our own benefit. This is our Mustang Gracie. There is a huge political component, but the only way you're going to change that is to start at the grassroots level. It's important for us to come together as neighbors. Nobody can deny the numbers, you know. We've got to figure something out. We've got this little window of time.
This little window of time's closing. And if this new proposal from the White House goes through, in 2018, horse advocates will face a whole new set of challenges. Could reopening the horse market help ranchers? Could more PZP funding save the horses? Can both sides come together somehow and find that balance?
So I was in the 7th grade and I had a science teacher. He says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I'm just glad to be just a farmer and rancher." And he says, "Why would you want to be a dumb farmer and rancher?" I said, "Guess just to feed you dumb city dudes, all I know."